Welcome to today's workshop on the Marie Curie PhD scholarships or studentships. Very quickly, I will tell you the outline of the session. As always, I will introduce Project EduAccess and the panelists to you, after which I'll hand it over to them and they will give you an overview of the scholarship. They'll give you a step-by-step guide for the application and tell you just sort of what the application process looks like. They'll take you over the application documents, talk to you slightly in detail about the CV or resume that you have to submit with your application, along with the motivation letter, personal statement, SOP that is required to be submitted, and then tell you a little bit more about the national portals of the scholarship, and then general tips about your application. So for those of you who are joining us for the first time, we are Project EduAccess. We believe that access to higher education, leadership, and professional opportunities is a privilege that most people from marginalized communities are systematically denied through cost, information, and dispositional barriers. And we attempt to improve inclusivity in these spaces by removing some of these barriers for marginalized communities in the global South. We do this by providing mentorship, engaging in advocacy, and running in-person and online capacity building workshops. Today's workshop is a part of our series of workshops on various scholarship opportunities to study abroad. And to do so, we have two wonderful panelists who've taken their time out on a Sunday morning to talk about the Marie Curie scholarships. We have with us Ashwin Ubaid Khan, who's doing a PhD in environmental engineering, which is an industrial doctorate from both jointly from the Polytechnic University in Milan and TAUW GmbH in Germany. And we have with us Anne Maria, who's doing a PhD in Biomaterial and Drug Delivery from the Leibniz Institute for Polymer Research in Germany. Thank you so much once again, Ubaid and Anne, for joining us and speaking to everybody about the scholarships. And I'll hand it over to you now.
Thank you, Ms. Bell, for the introduction, and it is also my pleasure to give a talk on this scholarship. And so to start with, first we will see what is Marie Skłodowska-Curie Scholarship. So these actions are the European Union's reference program, which is offered for doctoral education and postdoctoral training. So this Marie Curie action comes under the umbrella funding the Horizon Europe, and they fund research and innovation projects to boost top researchers' career through mobility and innovative doctoral and postdoctoral training. And also the MSA's main goal is to equip researchers at all stages of their career through mobility or through exposure to different sectors and disciplines, let it be academic or it can be also industrial. Next, please. And the MSCA also encourages communication, dissemination, and public engagement to facilitate independent thinking and leadership qualities. And this they achieve by letting the researchers go through a series of training, seminars, and workshops, which can help to widen their research competencies. And also the MSCA promotes effective supervisions and provide the students with adequate mentoring and career guidance. And overall, their aim is to provide the students with a supportive environment for them to work or for them to succeed in PhD. And to receive MSCA funding, there are various ways you can apply. So one is to apply as an organization where you submit a proposal as an individual organization or as a combined with 2 or 3 organizations together. Or if you have finished your PhD, you can apply for individual postdoctoral funding and positions. And also you can apply as a postdoctoral vacancies in a specific MSCA project. But the one which is most interesting to us, or the one that we are going to be talking today, is how to apply for PhD vacancies that is funded by the MSCA projects. And now I will show you a step-by-step guide on how this application for PhD is done. So the first step is where to find the vacancies for MSCA projects. So the important site for MSCA project publication is the EduAccess. So you have to go into the EduAccess website to find the job vacancies or the PhD vacancies for the Marie Curie funded programs. So they publish a list of vacancies on their website and they are updated regularly. So you will have to check every day if there is some vacancies that is related to your field being published. And EduAccess is a EU portal for researchers, and you will find here the full requirement that is required for you to apply in the specific position. And you can apply directly to the institution or the project of your choice. And also, on top of publishing vacancies for the MSCA projects, EduAccess also publishes thousands of job postings in and outside of the EU. And also you can find more information about visas, pension, taxation, and recognition of qualification and other issues that is related to the research abroad in this website. And the second step is to first go into the EduAccess website, and to find the job position, you have to go to the jobs and funding section in the EduAccess website. So I have highlighted in the red mark here what is the jobs and funding section. And once you go there, the next slide, please. Once you go there, you can filter your job search by giving Marie Skłodowska-Curie Actions, that is H2020 Marie Skłodowska-Curie Actions. So when you give this, you have obtained a search for 411 jobs here. So you can, and they give you a list of all the PhD opportunities, or this includes also the postdoctoral opportunities available under MSCA funding. So you can further refine your search. Next slide, please. You can further refine your search by giving keywords such as what field do you want to do in. Here, example, it is biomaterial engineering. And you can also give the researcher profile as R1, which is an early stage researcher, and this falls under the PhD students. So when I give biomaterial engineering here, for example, and the researcher profile R1, I have got one hit where they provide 15 MSCA PhD position on Biomed doctoral network. And so you have obtained your search, and you can go into this website or go into the specific position where they explain you all about the requirements or the description about the project, and you can find everything here. So in the next slide, you will see what are the information that you are looking for. So first is the country that you can see, which is offering this program, and this is the host organization, and here it is Ireland. And you can see the application deadline, which is 15 Feb 2024. And you can see the job status, which is full-time, and how many hours you have to week, and when does the program actually start. And you can also find information such as benefits and salary in the job posting itself. So they are very transparent about how much they are going to pay. And you have to note that this is before the taxes. So they are going to pay you 3,400 euros per month before the taxes. And the taxation depends upon the host country also. So it can vary from different programs. And the very interesting thing is that in this program specifically, they offer 15 doctoral positions. So there are 15 PhD positions that is available for which you can apply if it relates to your field. And generally, the information provided in EduAccess is extensive, but also they provide you a link to the external site here, as you can see, the biomed.eu, where you can go and find more information about the host organization, about the partner institutes, which is going to be offering this program. So in the next slide, yeah. And they also mentioned the eligibility. So the eligibility varies with each program. So it can differ, and I cannot tell you a standard eligibility for the Marie Curie PhD funding. So, but the eligibility is clearly mentioned in the advertisement. And the general requirements, which is required for all the Marie Curie PhD programs or PhD programs in general, is that you need to have a master's in the relevant field. So example, if it is biomaterial, you need something master's in biotechnology or biomedical engineering, aeronautical engineering, etc. And of course, there should be an English proficiency certificate. If your mother tongue is not English, or if you're not a native English speaker, then you have to show this English proficiency through IELTS or TOEFL, etc. And the very important for the, or very specific thing for the Marie Curie funding is that you must not have resided in the host country more than 12 months for the past 36 months. So example, if you have been doing your master's in Ireland, then you are not eligible for this specific PhD program because you have resided more than 12 months in that specific country. So this varies with each program. If suppose the host organization for another Marie Curie PhD is Germany, then you must not have resided in Germany for more than 12 months. And then every program gives their specific eligibility criteria. So for the program Biomed that I keep as an example, the eligibility criteria are given here. So one is the academic qualification. So the applicant has obtained the degree that formally entitles them to embark on a doctorate in the host country. So you should have a master's degree, and there might be specification if it's a 1-year master's or a 2-year master's. So you have to look what is the law in the Ireland for you to get a PhD. And you should have the master's program in the specific field, as I mentioned. And you should not have a doctoral degree before. Yeah, that's very obvious. If you have already done your PhD, then you're not eligible to take on to this course. And then the third one is the condition of international mobility of researcher. So the Marie Curie fellowships, they are advantage, or one of the strong points is that they encourage mobility. So you have a lot of partner institution, and you can travel within the partner institutions to either do your experiments or to learn some techniques or to undergo workshops. So, and for most of the Marie Curie funding, this mobility is mandatory. So sometimes you might have to go 6 months to Germany to work. So you should agree to it, and you should also see if you are able to do it. And of course, this mobility is funded by the MSCA, so you don't have to travel with your own money, but then they provide you money for you to travel and to undergo the mobility. And the English language, as I said, so they must have an English language certificate. And here they say that IELTS score of 6.5 or equivalent is the minimum requirement. So anything below that they wouldn't accept, and anything above is still an advantage. And the next slide is how to apply. So there is not a general structure to apply. So it varies with each program. And the best thing that you can do is to read carefully the advertisement which they have provided and follow the guideline given in the advertisement. Generally, they have explained it very clearly what you should do, so you just have to follow it. And most of the applications, you have to submit it in an external page. So here, as you can see in how to apply for the Biomed program, they have asked you to make the application at the following address, which takes you to the Biomed application portal. And then you have to follow the instruction on the website and submit your application. So here the instructions are that you have to complete the online application form and confirm your eligibility for the program. So in the online application form, they ask you, what have you done? What is your degree and where did you do it? So it's kind of repetitive to what you had written in the CV, but it is important that you write in your application as well. And then you have to include a copy of your curriculum vitae and motivation letter. And please don't forget to attach it while you submit your application form, because most of the time students forget to attach it. And also, as I said before, there are 15 positions available for this program. So you can apply for one or more than one position in the same Biomed program. So you can create 2 applications, or maybe they give in one application, what are your preferences? So you can give your preferences and then you can apply. So it's not like you just have to apply for one position in the one program. And they have also specifically mentioned the deadline. So you have to apply by this deadline, else they wouldn't accept the application. And next, I think Ashwin will take over.
Thank you so much, Anne, for covering so far. So I'll start with the application documents. And usually what happens with Marie Curie positions is that you don't apply directly on university website like you do with the traditional PhD programs, as Anne already said, is like there is usually a consortium website, which is like the particular consortium where you're applying, or you have sometimes to email all these documents together through an email, is like what I did. And in that email or in that consortium websites, usually these are some of the main documents that are you have to have your transcript of grades, and that includes both your bachelor's and master's degree transcript. And if you are not graduated at that time, I mean, there's some sort of rules that you can have some provisional master's degree certificate that you are supposed to be graduated before joining the doctoral position as well. And then you have your CV, which we're gonna go a little deeper into the CV part after a few slides. And then you have your cover letter, which is the first page of your application is supposed to be your cover letter, where you just give a brief introduction followed by your CV, and usually two recommendation letters from your previous supervisor or teachers, and then English language proficiency certificate, something like an IELTS or a TOEFL. So these are the main documents, like your transcript, CV, cover letter, LORs, and English, your English proficiency. And this is the only documents you need to apply in the consortium website or through the email. Here, you are not applying for the particular PhD position. It's like more like a job or application, and you're applying directly to the consortium, where there must be a manager or a professor looking at your documents. And once they once the consortium or the training network selects you, you are automatically enrolled as a PhD in a PhD course in a university. So you are not supposed to apply to the course by yourself. That's something like you get both benefits. You're at the same time hired as a researcher, and on contrary to that, you're also getting student benefits as well. Next slide, Nisba. Yes, so regarding the CV, so research, and we have, if you get a little bit deeper into the CV, so here we are using an academic CV, something like an academic CV where you highlight your, if you have a previous publication records or something which is very relevant to the PhD position here. And we try to keep the CV maximum 2 pages and keep it as concise and as to the point as possible. Here are some of the points we mentioned, is that we use a consistent format, like that includes the word formats, highlights, and all these things. And of course, make sure it is rightly spelled and has a very good grammar. And then something here, the point here mentioned is that tailored to question, because usually what we see is we see a lot of students making a particular CV and then they use it for different PhD positions that span across different areas. So some positions they ask you for more practical experience, let's just say, but where some other positions they might ask you for some you might need to learn some programming or something. So you need to highlight those skills as relevant to the PhD position. And I think most probably that your research experience and your work experience, that is something which is supposed to be tailored at every PhD applications. And of course, last but not least, to have it proofread by anyone in your friend circle or someone your teachers, so you can have a second perspective of another person regarding your CV. And next slide, please. Yes, so here's the resume here, and this is just a standard resume. You can see the academic information is usually placed on the top for the academic CVs. And then we start with the research experience. And if you have done some research thesis in your master's degree or bachelor's, or you have done some sort of internship, you are going to highlight where did you do it, the time duration, and also the key. You don't need to necessarily put a big paragraph, but just mention in bullet points like what were your research objectives and what are the kind of apparatus and methodologies that you use, or some sort of results. So these are the things that you should not necessarily put all your research there, but just try to highlight it in bullet points and make it as concise as possible. And then we have our, if you have, it's not necessary that at this stage in master's degree you necessarily have publications, but if you do have, so you are supposed to put them there with the, I would say, with DOIs and all information, your authorship, and then in the end, you have usually you put 2 or 3 references, like your recommendation letter. And so next slide, please. Yes, so these are the documents that we mentioned apart from CV is our statement of purpose or motivation letter. So these goes by different names. It can be called letter of recommendation, motivation letter, SOP, or sometimes cover letter as well. So these are the documents where we try to explain our background. So it goes mostly in the 4 formats: our background, what are our relevancy to this particular position, and what are our expectations, and something regarding to the position. So usually what we have to also make sure that our statement of purpose is tailored to the particular position. Maybe you are not going to change the background part, maybe, but the part that where you discuss regarding your relevancy to the PhD field and why you are particularly interested in this program and what skills of your previous research match. So probably you can have one of that paragraphs which you should like tailor depending upon the PhD position you are applying for every time. And of course you can use online tools like Grammarly to check the grammar, or nowadays there's AI tools also where you can help you to assist with paraphrasing and proofreading as well. And yes, next slide. So for the motivation letter or personal statement, like I mentioned earlier, again, we have our introduction part where we do a brief introduction about our background. And by background, I mean our education and our professional background. And you can also mention your previous experiences regarding why you choose this particular field of science or particular field of research. And then your body part, which is the central part, is where you kind of try you're supposed to give a brief in a way that you're repeating your CV here, but try not to like exactly go through all the details that you already mentioned in CV, because you have also attached the CV with this application. But still, we will try to give a little bit brief your academic and professional journey, just some few lines, and then your career goals, like what you want to do after you finish this PhD position, something like that. And some other points like why are you interested in this specific program as well. And this is the part in the body which you should particularly modify depending upon the PhD position and tailor specifically, and not use some very generic words. And in conclusion, you can emphasize more on your goals and why you need this particular PhD position and something like that. And some interesting points is which makes particularly Marie Curie positions different from the traditional PhD positions, is because usually they are mostly divided in 3 parts. Like you can have a Marie Curie ETN project where you have like some mobility, 6 months, 2 months with different academic or industrial partners. And there's another, it's called EID, where you're supposed to spend your half of PhD position in an industrial partner, which is something what I do. And there is something which is called EJD, where you have like 2 universities and you are gonna have a joint degree. So you have to highlight that interest in that this is okay, and European Industrial Doctorate and EID or ETN position, and I'm interested in these mobilities, and I kind of want to have a multidisciplinary or very collaborative approach to my research plan or something like that. So or you have to show your motivation towards the collaborations as well. Yes. Anne has already mentioned regarding the EduAccess website, and you can check the national contact questions. I think if you have like a host country or future host country option. Yeah, I think this is more regarding like if you try to use EduAccess website in the national portals and find some relevant PhD positions. And there are many filters you can use and play. And yes, can we go in next? Yes, so all in all, we can have some general tips because like Anne mentioned earlier, there's not a particular timeline to apply for Marie Curie positions. They are like advertised throughout the year, but mostly during the prior to every fall and spring session, I would say there are much more positions coming in the portal of EduAccess. So I think throughout the year or since whenever you are starting your application position, you have to constantly check your access. And then again, you have in every position, there must be a website shown, that website which takes you to the consortium website of that particular PhD positions. And in consortium, there might be more than one or sometimes 15 PhD positions together. And then it's better that you go through each in detail. And what are because some PhD positions, they also mention like what kind of background or background research they want in the applicant. So it's better to dive deep in the consortium website and check what are the PhD positions that are really relevant to your prior background, and try not to apply in all the PhD positions, but focus and try to make a very solid application and focus on one position. And all in all, you have to, first of all, like eligibility criteria is most important, as Anne already mentioned, that if you have spent 12 months continuously in a particular country and you apply to an Marie Curie position, a PhD position, that is where the host is from that country, so you are not eligible for that. Your host, which is your host institution, should come from a different EU nation. Otherwise, you will not meet the eligibility criteria. Second is like, of course, in your motivation letter, you try to highlight your teamwork, because this is a very collaborative PhD position. So you have to be like at least show with your skills or with your interest, you are showing that you are very open to mobilities, traveling, because during the course of 3 years, you are gonna have a lot of academic secondments and industrial secondments where you're supposed to constantly travel throughout the year and try to show some very the interest in traveling and networking particularly. And then prepare strong letter of recommendations. And what I mean by that is usually if you provide a recommendation letter from a professor or from an employer who you have really worked with, like have done your bachelor's, master's thesis, someone that has, you have really had a professional or academic connection with, those kind of recommendation letters should be, prioritized as compared to a professor who you just know in the college and he never really taught you. So it's better to have a professor who maybe you attend his or her course, or you have worked under his or her supervision in a bachelor or master's degree thesis. So that's what I mean by strong letter of recommendations. And practice and refine is important, because I'm sure Anne and me, we have gone through multiple PhD. I'm sure she must also apply for many ITN or ESR positions. And by the course of time, it's better that you learn from your mistakes or even your interviews, and then you keep constantly refining your whole, which includes your CV, motivation, and all the documents you have, and try to have a better shot next time. So you're supposed to constantly monitor and constantly refine your application documents, and practice interviews. In interview, like we try to, my personal tip is like, you should do in a way that you should indulge in some sort of discussion with the professor, a very research, because if you are already shortlisted for interview, you should know that your professor has already went through your CV and he knows your background. So in the interview, what you try to do, you try to not repeat your CV again, but talk about, ask questions and indulge in really scientific discussions, and make sure that if you are working, let's just say in a wet lab or chemical lab, you can ask questions about what is the status of the lab, what are the instruments, and all in all these things, and try to indulge in like what is his research approach, some type of these questions, and show that you can have a very good discussion with the professor or the interviewer. And submit on time is that usually procrastination happens in the application process because you are constantly applying, but I think it's better anytime if you submit your application many days prior to deadline, not just 2 or a couple of days prior to deadline, because I think there is some sort of priority bias happening there or as well. That is better if you submit as earlier as possible. So submit on time, or much better submit as earlier as possible. And yes, those are some of the general tips. Thank you. And I think it's probably it. Yes, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask me or hand or Misbah.
Yes, thank you so much, Ubaid, and that was really comprehensive. So yeah, we move to the Q&A part of the session now. So if you have any questions, you can raise your hand and ask your question directly, or you can put your questions in chat or send it to either Ubaid and or me as a DM, and we'd be happy to take your questions. I have 2 questions that came in my DM, so maybe I can start with those, and then more people are warming up. So first question is, do you need to contact your supervisors or I guess in this case, whoever the lead researcher or PI is, before you're applying?
According to my experience, you don't have to, but if you have really some genuine question, or if you're not clear about the application or the project, then you can contact the supervisor with genuine questions. So it does not mean that if you contact the supervisor, your chance of getting into the program would be higher. Like, it's not true, but yeah, if you have some questions, then you can contact. I don't think there is any problem with that. Yeah, but probably Ashwin can.
No,
Yeah.
that's exactly what I would have answered. It's like there is already a PhD position, so you cannot ask a professor like, is there any PhD vacant position or something like that. So unless you have a particular question about your application document, something like that, or you have to ask question regarding like a lab, something like that, or some research approach, then you can, unless there's no need to do that.
Exactly.
Yeah, so unlike other PhD positions in sort of education institutions, where you contact the supervisor in the UK and the US primarily, where you contact them and then apply, it's not the case for.
No, it's not the case. And I feel in Marie Curie, they are very structured. So they know what they are doing and they know where the application is going. So in the example that I said, they collect the application and they distribute to the entire consortium, and then they have a process to select. So it's very structured, and so you don't have to contact a specific professor.
Sorry. The other question is, when did you start preparing for the application? So ideally, when is a good time to start preparing and then applying for the scholarships?
Should I go first? Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think maybe I would say final semester of your master's degree, but at the same time in final semester, you are again writing your thesis. It's a very hectic part of the master's. So I would say you better try to like in your mind, just plan as earlier as possible, but it's really after you submit your thesis, you have a lot of free time to apply for Marie Curie positions. But if you have time in your final semester of your master's degree, go for it. That was not the case for me, but maybe
Yeah.
Anne had.
It was also not the same for me because the master's thesis was very hectic. So I finished my master's and then I started applying for the PhD position. But also I know my peers who applied during the master's and then they were placed right after their master's. So if that's what you want to do not leave Europe and you want to stay in your master's here, and then right away you want to start your PhD, then you will have to start during your master thesis, even if it is hectic. And as for the preparation, like, yeah, the work experience and the experiences that you gain is not something that comes suddenly, right? So that's like a lifelong preparation or a preparation of 2-3 years. But the CV and the SOP, I think it's better that you prepare at least 1 month before the application and take a lot of time in preparing the CV and the SOP, because that decides that's the entry point of whether you can even get an interview. So yeah, you should take time for that.
Great. Another question that has come in my DM is this scholarship relevant for psychology students?
Not to my knowledge. Maybe Anne has answer.
Why not? Like, because Marie Curie, they give funding for every PhD field that is available. So if PhD in psychology is something which is something well known or something, you can look in the EduAccess website, you can, for the keywords, you can type psychology and there might be some PhD positions that's coming up. So if you see my field is biomaterial, and when I put a keyword biomaterial, there is one PhD position available. So maybe you won't find a lot, but throughout the year, there are PhD applications. So you keep looking for it and you might find it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think in general, like Horizon Europe is much more STEM related. You will find STEM related PhD and postdoc positions generally. But there are a lot of positions. These programs in Marie Curie are mostly multidisciplinary in a sense that in your consortium, you might have chemists, you might have some from biology, someone from engineering, and we work together to solve our PhD, like the whole idea of the consortium in a multidisciplinary approach. So in that sense that you can have people from different backgrounds, but so it's not necessary that. So again, you have to really go through the details of the PhD program and read what are the requirements.
Yeah, but very quickly, when I was looking at the website, there were filters for social sciences as well. So even if you're not from a STEM field, there were, I mean, even within law, because that's what I was looking at. So there were PhD positions for different specializations in law, and similarly psychology and sociology, anthropology. So there are opportunities, but again, it depends. There may not be a lot. It just depends, and you'll have to keep looking throughout the year for openings.
Yeah.
And also the other suggestion that I can give you for looking for the PhD position is also to use LinkedIn Job Alert. I have created one when I was applying, and it's been 2 years, and I still get posts for any PhD if it comes. So I have created an alert in LinkedIn where whenever there is a Marie Curie PhD position opening up, it comes to my phone as a notification. So you can use such resources also. If you feel like I cannot go to EduAccess every day and look for the PhD position, then create such alerts which comes to your phone. And if it is interesting, you can apply. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be really helpful, I guess. Another question is some PhD programs on the EduAccess website say that they're not funded by an EU program. So how should one go about that?
I think so. Basically, Horizon Europe is the body that funds all these. For example, if you're hired in a particular country, the funding is not coming from university or the National Science Foundation. You're paid by EU directly. So, which is the Horizon Europe is like a funding body, but there are some programs which I have heard because there are some universities which are outside EU, like let's just say in Switzerland or Norway, or some programs that even go in Australia, where there is this co-fund program. So in which the university also, because they don't come in EU, so they are outside EU. So in that sense, that university says, okay, we're gonna do our contribution to take part in this project, and we're gonna contribute from our own university funds. All in all, you are gonna still get the same type of, I would say, the salaries and everything, or benefits like a traditional Marie Curie position.
Okay, great. Another question is, are publications compulsory for these programs?
No, I don't think it is necessary at all. I did not have any publication when I was applying, and yeah, So I don't think it's necessary because you have just completed your master's and you're getting into PhD. So yeah, it's not a requirement, but if you have it, it's an advantage. Yeah. So, but you don't have to go behind publication. So your application would not get rejected because you do not have a publication for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I do agree that, for example, in my consortium, we have a very small consortium. We are just 5 people, 2 from University of Warwick and 2 from Italy, 3 from Italy. And I think 3 of us had some publication records, but again, the other 2, they didn't have. So it's like if you don't have publications, maybe you have a very good internship experience, that should also work. But I think all in all, compared to other PhD positions, in Marie Curie position, it's better if you have prior research experience or relevant research experience. That would be much better.
Great. Another question is about references. Is it better to have both academic references or professional or technical referees as well? So I guess generally, what's the guidance? How should one choose their reference?
Like, what do you mean by technical? Like, is it from the job that you're working or?
Yeah, so internship or job or.
Yeah, I mean, I think as Ashwin explained, I think the important thing for the reference is that they know you well and that you have worked with them very closely, that they can explain something about you. So, like, I don't see a difference if it is an academic and non-academic reference, but the important part is they can say something positive about you and they can relate it how when you were working there that you exhibited such qualities. So yeah, and also they should provide not a very general recommendation, but something tailored to you. So you have to go for referees who can provide you that. And I feel, personally, I don't think there is a difference between academic and non-academic reference. And somebody has written in the chat.
Yeah, I'll just quickly read the question out so whoever's watching the recording can also know. So what are the deadlines for this scholarship at the moment? The website says that the scholarship is closed. And second question is, do we require research experience or do they consider research internships as well? Or are they specifically talking about having full-time job experience?
I don't know what scholarship they were planning to apply, but probably if they say the deadline is closed, then the deadline for that specific program is closed. That's very unfortunate. And yeah, I think the best thing to do is to look for a different position related to their field. And do we require research experience or do they yeah, I think the research internship is good as well. You don't need to have a full-time job before applying, because a lot of us also have applied right after masters in which you did not have a full-time research experience, but a part-time research experience where you were doing internships or bachelor or master thesis. And I think that would suffice.
Yeah.
I want to add something, sorry.
Yeah.
Is that like kind of like what she mentioned is the deadline for the scholarship. So I think that's why they don't necessarily use a scholarship as a word in Marie Curie positions, because much unlike traditional scholarships, we have like Fulbright or campus grants, some scholarships where there's like annual date and then you apply for that scholarship and you apply for PhD position. This is different in a way that you can see there are many scholarships throughout the year, and every scholarship is dedicated to that particular consortium. And in any consortium, then can be more than 1 or 10 or 5, 6 PhD positions. So if there is deadline close, it's particularly, as Anne mentioned, that consortium, that PhD position deadline is closed. But the others, they might be running, some might be still coming next month. So you keep just tracking and yeah.
Yeah, just to clarify the scheme, when you look at the recording, you'll obviously get a better understanding of the scholarship, but these are not, so you don't apply for the scholarship, but you apply for specific PhD positions that are funded by this sort of funding body. And so on the EduAccess website, you will find PhD positions, and you need to filter out whatever is relevant to your field. And there are opportunities for social sciences as well. You just need to put the keywords for what you're looking for. So whether it's a sociology, anthropology, et cetera, et cetera. So just put those keywords in and look for what are the opportunities available. And because these are advertised as similar to how jobs are advertised, you'll have to sort of keep looking. So it's not like there's a specific deadline or a timeline, which is why we didn't even have a specific slide on a timeline, because these are all advertised at different points of times, because there's no specific university deadline as is in the US or the UK. Here you just look for openings, and then you apply, and then you go according to their timeline and schedule. So just keep looking on the website, and obviously have a look at the recording, and you probably understand it a bit better. Okay, I think those were the questions that were in my DM. Did any of you have any questions that were in your DM or what you missed? Okay, so we are almost at the end of the session. We have a few minutes left. So if anyone has any questions, now would be the time to ask. You can, again, raise your hand and directly ask the question, or you can put the question in chat. In the meantime, I will send a few links in chat. So I've just sent a few links. This is the first link is of the YouTube channel for Project EduAccess. This is where you'll find a recording of today's workshop, and also the recording of other workshops that we've done over the past year on different scholarship opportunities. There's a separate section. There's a separate playlist on PhD applications and PhD scholarships. So if you can directly go there and have a look at the different opportunities. Ubaid did mention ERC a bit, and so we've also done a workshop on the ERC scholarship, which is European Research Council scholarships. So you can have a look at that. We've also done a bunch of workshops last year. You can have a look at that on our website. We've developed some application guides, which is basically on writing your CV, writing your statement of purpose, writing your personal statement, writing a research proposal, and just a guidance on letters of recommendation. So you can have a look at that if you're starting out and you're trying to understand what the process of writing and what and you're finding some difficulties with that. I'd suggest have a look at those guides. If you're not a mentee with us on the India Graduate Mentorship Program, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us at info@projecteduaccess.com, and we'll try to get back to you with any of your doubts or clarifications. That's it. I think we're at the end of the session now. Thank you so much, Anne and Ubaid, for joining us today, for giving the presentation and being so patient with the questions. And I'm sure it helped a lot of people and will help people who are watching the recording as well. Thank you, everyone who joined us today, and all the best with your applications. Have a nice rest of your Sunday, everyone. Thank you so much once again.
And have a nice day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone.